Assalamu alaikum, I'm Carl Arrindell and you're watching an Election in Focus special. Now, I'm here in Uxbridge, outside the famous Pavilion shopping centre, and I'm delighted to be joined by Conservative mayoral candidate Boris Johnson in the throes of his campaign trail during the last days, in fact the last hours before the mayoral election on Thursday. Boris Johnson is a British Conservative Party politician and journalist. He is the incumbent mayor of London, having been successfully elected in 2008. He was formerly the Conservative Member of Parliament for Henley and an editor of The Spectator magazine, following a career at the Times and Telegraph newspapers. With over 1 million votes, he boasted he has received the largest personal mandate of any politician in British history. The cancerous growth of Islamophobia is an issue clearly that is important to the Muslim community. And this growth, which has been widespread across Europe, has resulted in the most repressive of measures and government rhetoric against Muslims, asylum seekers and immigrants. Now, Prime Ministers, including our own, continue to blame the breakdown in society as a consequence of multiculturalism, and even senior politicians in France, Netherlands, Denmark and other European countries talk consistently of alien values. Now, it is a bit sad that the brutality of the Anders Breivik killings last summer in Norway seemed to have in no way tempered this rhetoric. It's a fact as well that London, the capital city of England, remains a hotbed of activities for various far-right groups, some of which have been cited by Breivik as his inspiration. What should the Mayor of London be doing to tackle this problem? Should, in your opinion, groups which have been given sanction to march with their unsavoury messages be allowed to march into the heart of Muslim communities in order to stir up racial tension and break down cohesion?
Absolutely not. And Islamophobia is a cancer, it's a scourge, and it's something that, obviously, when I look at the statistics, and they do show there's been a decline in attacks and outbreaks in the last 4 years, but that is no excuse for complacency. This is something that affects many people in many parts of London, and we're setting up a task force to deal with it and to make sure that within the Metropolitan Police Service itself there is a group specially dedicated to rooting out and stamping out Islamophobia. It's not tolerable in a great city like London.
Now, you must have seen the recent results of the Stephen Lawrence, finally the trial, which took over 20 years before they finally, if you like, saw some sort of justice. Many have said that the crudeness of the racism in the police force was far overshadowed the brutality of the killing of an innocent man. What do you think should be done about the racism in the police? Are you likely to follow, as Doreen Lawrence suggested, a call for an independent follow-up to the Macpherson?
I have called on the Home Secretary to institute a special inquiry into the new allegations of corruption surrounding the original Lawrence investigation. You'll have seen those allegations. The most important thing for us now, as a city, as a society, is to have a police force that really reflects London. That's why I'm proud that right now there are more BAME officers in our force, serving our city, working hard to bring crime down than at any time in the past. We're going to keep recruiting, and I think one of the reasons I hope people will support me in this election is that I'm in a much better position to get the funds that London needs to recruit more police, as you saw with getting the extra 90 million in the last few months. And we've got 1,000 more officers on the street now. We're going to put 2,000 into the safer neighbourhood teams.
Now, you've talked about this new task force. What was the problem with the existing? There was a Muslim Safety Forum that's been going, I know, for 10 years. I know it was your predecessor who set that up. Was there any issue with working with them?
There's a new body that's just been set up in the Met in March of this year, and it's there to put a crackdown on Islamophobia at the very heart of the Metropolitan Police, and that's what I want to see going forward. There can never be complacency in this matter. Yes, I think things have improved and you've seen a reduction in Islamophobic incidents, but we need to do better.
Now, I know one of the key issues that senior members of the Muslim community have mentioned is at least a perception that at central government and also at the Mayor's office there's been a sort of disengagement with some of the major umbrella organisations in the capital. I'm thinking of the Muslim Council of Britain, the FOSIS, the students' body. Is there any sort of commitment in the next term for a review of the engagement programme that you currently have been operating?
Well, we had a really good discussion the other day in the Regent's Park Mosque, and we went around a lot of these issues. And yes, I accept, and I said then that there is always room to do more. Yeah, of course, I visited mosques over the last 4 years, but what I've undertaken now is that there will be an annual session of the kind we had the other day, which I think worked really well in the Regent's Park Mosque. We will renew our support for the Eid reception, provided we can get private sponsorship, and maybe the Islam Channel could be in a position to help us do that. And there will be a particular focus in my office. Sir Eddie Lister is going to be there to make sure that my door is always open to people from all communities, but particularly from the Muslim community, who want to get their point across.
You've spoken about housing as a key plank of your agenda. You'll be aware that in many high Muslim populated areas, especially inner city boroughs such as Tower Hamlets and Newham, the levels of poverty are amongst the highest in the UK. There are too many stories of families trapped on welfare dependency, people who are being forced to live on the most desperate housing conditions with damp rooms and overcrowding. Housing benefit, tragically, upon which so many of the impoverished Muslim communities are dependent, was capped by this government coalition, resulting in boroughs such as Newham, you may have read recently, having to export up to 500 families up to the Midlands. One Labour MP, a housing minister, called this ethnic cleansing, and said that the government seemed to be intent on wanting Muslims out of central London. Now, is she justified in her remarks, and what will you specifically be doing as head of the new Housing Building Authority to protect the most vulnerable in the capital?
Homes for London, Homes for London. What we're going to do is we're going to bring together all the land that is available to me, to us in London government, 530 hectares, huge amount of land, and make it available for development and create over the next 4 years a phenomenal number of new affordable homes. And it's vital to bear in mind that that will not only create 104,000 jobs just in the building of those homes, but also they will be family-sized homes. It's very important for Muslim families that we have enough family-sized accommodation. So I've said, for the first time as your mayor, I've said that 42% of our new build has got to be 3 bedrooms or more. And our house building programme is a key part of what we're doing to drive job creation in London. One of the problems that young Muslims face in this city, the most serious one, is unemployment. And it is vital that we get them into jobs, and our investments in transport and housing and regeneration schemes will create 200,000 jobs over the next 4 years.
Now, you've spoken of the need to create jobs in the capital. You'll probably be aware that Muslims are 4 or 5 times more likely to be unemployed than the average. In fact, in some inner city areas, you've got Muslim unemployment over 50% amongst males and up to 75% amongst females. It's particularly ironic in boroughs such as Tower Hamlets, which is the home to one of the wealth centres of the country, Canary Wharf, or indeed Newham, where the Olympics is being located. Whilst we can all hope that apprenticeship schemes which you propose will hopefully create new opportunities, do you accept that the disparity in unemployment is not simply because of the lack of jobs, but inherent racism that exists in the workplace?
Absolutely, and where that discrimination exists, it must be rooted out. But what I will say is that the most important thing is to get our young people in a position where they can take some of the jobs that we're creating. And I think for too long, what you've seen is London generating huge numbers of jobs. Over the last 20 years, London has been a phenomenal producer of new jobs. But young Londoners very often don't get them. You get talented, determined people arriving from elsewhere, the accession countries of the EU. They tend to get the jobs. Now, I want to make sure that our young Londoners are in a position, the young Muslims are in a position to get those jobs. That means massively expanding the apprenticeship scheme that we've already got underway. We've done 54,000 already. We want to go up to 100,000 by the end of 2012. We can do 250,000 over the next 4 years. Isn't it better to get someone into a job, into an apprenticeship, when 85% of them go on to full-time jobs? Much better to do that than have them on unemployment benefit, losing their self-confidence, losing their self-esteem. So I hope that the many members of the Muslim business community, and they are the backbone of the London economy, they're the people that keep the city moving, the small, medium-sized businesses, I hope that they will join us, join me in building that apprenticeship programme, because that offers real hope for our young people.
I just want to ask you, talking about discrimination, about the stop and search
Yes.
laws. They have had a savage impact on Muslims who have rather tragically been, again, the target of the majority of the stops by the police, of which a number have escalated out of all proportion in the last few years. Many have argued that this is totally discriminate and totally ineffective. I mean, is the Mayor going to look at this whole issue and make some changes?
We already are looking at stop and search very seriously, and we're not going to continue with an indiscriminate approach. I don't think the approach really ever was indiscriminate, but insofar as it needs to be more polite, it needs to be more courteous, it needs to be within the law, then that is what Bernard Hogan-Howe, the Commissioner, is determined to do. But what I can't tell you or our viewers is that we will totally scrap stop and search. I think it is an important tactic for the police. It's something that I think they need to be able to have recourse to, because so many young people in our city do carry knives, and they need to know that that is the wrong way forward. And we've taken 11,000 knives off the streets of London since I've been mayor, and since I've been mayor, crime has come down very substantially. Murder is down by 25%. We're getting more police out there, and the number of young people who are dying from knife crime has been reduced by about 50%. Now, one death is too many. One death is too many. But if stop and search can save a young life, then I think it's something we should not scrap altogether.
Finally, one last point. Touching back on an issue we talked about a moment ago, but I know that it's been raised with me time and time again. Eid on the Square, it was a remarkably important event for the Muslim community of London. And many have suggested that the spiritual tone of the event has been diluted over the last period. It's an important issue to most of them. And I just would like to ask whether or not you might look at reviewing the way that that's been structured for events going forward.
Of course we will certainly look at Eid on the Square, and don't forget what I said earlier on about my determination to restore the proper celebrations of the reception for Eid as well. We will do that. I just have to save people's money. Don't forget, the council tax under the previous mayor went up by £964 for a Band D household. I've got to be sparing with taxpayers' cash. We have to find savings all over the place. That was what it was about. But as I say to you, to all viewers of the Islam channel, come on, we can do it. If we can find a sponsor for the reception, I guarantee it will go ahead in City Hall.
Boris Johnson, incumbent mayor
Thank
and
you very
mayoral
much.
candidate. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. All the best. Take care. See you.
Bye-bye.